Jared woke to the smell of smoke and perfume. His head rested against the cold glass window of the train. The lights flickered dimly, bathing the car in a sickly, greenish hue. But he was no longer alone. At the far end of the train car stood a woman, dressed in a blood-red silk gown that clung to her body like liquid fire. Her hair spilled in dark waves over her shoulders, and her eyes, they were the color of fresh bruises. She smiled, not sweetly, not warmly, but the kind of smile that could coax you to step off a cliff just to see what waited below. Jared's throat was dry, his pulse hammering inside his skull. Who are you? His voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. The woman didn't answer. She started walking toward him, slow, deliberate, her heels clicking softly against the worn floor. The air grew thick, like breathing through syrup. Jared's body felt heavy, but a strange warmth flooded his veins. His fear tangled with something else. Desire. She sat down across from him, crossing her legs with a sensual grace that didn't belong in a place like this. The gown slipped slightly, exposing the curve of her thigh. Her fingers, nails painted the same deep red, trailed lazily across the seat between them. You shouldn't have boarded this train. Her voice was a whisper soaked in smoke and sin. But now that you have, you're mine. Jared swallowed hard, his tongue like sandpaper. What is this place? Where are we going? She leaned closer, her lips curling up at the corners. You're not asking the right questions. The train jolted violently, making Jared grab the seat for balance. Through the windows, the tunnel walls shifted, no longer concrete, but flesh pulsing like a living throat. Dark veins throbbed along the surface, and from somewhere deep below came a sound, a wet, slithering shuffle. Jared's stomach churned. Let me off, his voice cracked. The woman in red only laughed, a low, sultry laugh that tasted like honey and venom. There is no off. There never was. Suddenly, the lights died. The car was plunged into absolute darkness. Jared's breathing came in shallow bursts, heart hammering so loudly he almost missed it. The soft whisper of fabric sliding closer. He could feel her breath against his neck, warm and sweet like rotting fruit. Her fingers, unnaturally cold, trailed along his jawline, tilting his face toward hers in the darkness. Then, her lips met his. It wasn't a kiss, it was a feeding. Memories bled from his mind into her mouth. His first kiss, his childhood fears, his darkest secrets. She drank him in, leaving only emptiness behind. He tore away from her, gasping, only to find her seated back across from him, untouched and pristine, as though she had never moved. But Jared was different now. His reflection in the window had changed again. His skin was grayer, his eyes sunken, veins spiderwebbing under the surface. He barely recognized himself. Who are you? He rasped again. She smiled wider, showing teeth too sharp, too numerous. I'm the conductor. Suddenly, the train screeched to a halt. The doors slid open, not to a station, but to a corridor of mirrors. Each mirror showed a different version of Jared. Some screaming, some laughing, some already dead. Behind him, the woman in red whispered in his ear, "Choose your reflection wisely, or I'll choose for you." Jared stepped forward, trembling. But as soon as his foot crossed the threshold, a hand, his own hand, shot out from one of the mirrors, grabbing his wrist and pulling him inside. The doors shut behind him. The train began to move again, but Jared was no longer on board. Instead, his face appeared inside the glass of one of the windows, trapped, screaming silently, watching helplessly as the woman in red crossed her legs again, and waited for the next passenger. But just before the scene fades to black, the camera lingers on the door at the far end of the train car. A door no one has noticed yet. And from the other side, something knocks. Once, twice, 3 times.